Hey guys, it's Ed, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to make something classic, but with a little twist. So yes, today we're going to make a classic lemon and poppy seed loaf cake, but the twist is one of the ingredients, and that ingredient is almond paste. Now it's based on one of my favourite bakeries in San Francisco, Tartine Bakery. Now I'd love to do one of those cutaways where I suddenly appear in San Francisco and I'm at the bakery, but we don't have the budget for that, so we're staying in London in my kitchen. Now the almond paste obviously gives flavour, but also makes for an amazingly textured cake. It makes it moister, it makes it velvety, it's just the nicest texture for this style of cake. So before we get started, we need to quickly talk about the difference between marzipan and almond paste, which is what we're going to use today. Now marzipan, which is very easy to get hold of, especially here in the UK, that's what's most widely available, is generally made up of sugar, almonds, and then sometimes some glucose and sometimes some egg white. And it's a very useful product, it's very good to roll out or model with, it holds its shape really well, and it isn't super sticky. But it doesn't have a very high proportion of almonds, it's quite low, about 25 to 35% almonds. Whereas almond paste is much higher in almonds. It's basically just sugar and almonds, and it's normally a minimum of 50% almonds. It's a little harder to work with, it can be a little bit stickier, but I find it's delicious in recipes, so it's worth looking for. Now in the UK it can be a little bit tricky to find compared to marzipan, so I've also listed a few places down below if you want to make this recipe and you're in the UK. If you're in the US, it should be available much more widely in big supermarkets. So, to start the recipe, what we're going to do is we're going to take our almond paste and we're just going to break it into little pieces and add that to the mixer. Then we're going to let that go in the mixer just on a low speed, just until it starts to soften up a little bit. Then what we're going to do is add our caster sugar just a little bit at a time, mixing until the almond paste becomes this kind of sandy, almost very coarse mixture. And that just means that when we add the butter, you won't get any lumps of almond paste and we get a nice smooth batter. At this stage we're going to add the butter a piece or two at a time, just mixing until it forms a paste. We're then going to add our lemon zest, then we're going to turn the speed up on the mixer to a nice kind of medium-high speed and beat that until the mixture is really nice and light and fluffy, just like any other classic cake mixture. The reason we add the lemon zest now, rather than folding it in with the dry goods later, is by beating it together with all those coarse ingredients like the sugar and the almond paste. It helps to bring out all the oils and really enhance that lemon flavour in the cake. So once the mixture is really nice and light and fluffy, we can get on with adding our eggs. We're going to add those about one at a time, beating until really nice and combined before adding another. Now with this mixture, because it has a lot of almond paste, which means it has a lot of almonds in it, there's not actually that much flour in there. So once the cake batter is made, you're going to take that off the mixer and just give it a brief mix with your spatula, just to make sure that the lemon zest hasn't clumped, which it has a tendency to do sometimes. At that point, we're just going to take our dry ingredients, add that to the batter, and then just briefly mix that together until everything is nicely combined. We're then going to scrape that into our loaf pan. Now you might notice this is quite a deep loaf pan, quite a big loaf pan, and that's because it does make quite a lot of batter. If you have one of the regular kind of slightly thinner loaf tins, that's fine. Fill it 3/4 full, and then the small amount of batter you have left, use that to make some cupcakes. They'll be delicious. At this point we're going to pop the cake into the oven that's been preheated and bake it for about an hour. You can tell the cake is done when it springs back to the touch, or when you insert a skewer, it will come out nice and clean. So once the cake is baked, we can leave it in the pan for about 10 to 15 minutes to cool. Meanwhile, we're going to make the simple syrup to soak into the cake. It's just equal parts lemon juice and sugar by weight, and we're just going to put those in a pan and bring them up to a simmer just until the sugar has dissolved. And then we can take our slightly cooled cake and we're just going to turn that out onto a wire rack upside down, and that's just going to give us a more pleasing finish to the look of the cake. So all we're going to do is take a skewer and just kind of poke the cake all over, including all the sides, so that it will really absorb the syrup. Then we're going to brush all the syrup all over the cake, and it will absorb all of it. Just keep brushing, and this is going to add a ton more lemon flavour and also more moisture to the finished cake as well. So now that our cake is nice and fully cooled, we can get on with finishing it with a glaze. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. You can leave it plain, it's delicious as it is. We're gonna add a really simple glaze made with lemon juice and some icing sugar. We're also gonna gild the lily just a little bit with some candied citrus peel, some lemon peel. That takes a little while, so I think we're gonna cut to a montage. Okay, so now that we have our candied lemon slices done, what we're going to do is make our glaze. And it's a very simple thing. We're going to take our remaining lemon, we're going to juice it. I'm going to use probably about half of the juice. And all we're going to do is mix that together with enough icing sugar to make a glaze that's thick but just pourable. So this is the texture you're looking for. Thick, but just still fluid, so that it will hold its shape as you pour it on the cake, but not so much that you won't have any definition of the drips. And also, just to temper the sweetness just a little bit, we can add a tiny pinch of salt, which will just balance out the sweetness in the glaze as well. Okay, so now that we have our finished glaze, our candied lemon, and some extra poppy seeds, we can get on with decorating the cake. So all we're gonna do is pour the glaze mainly on the top of the cake to start with, and then we're just gonna tease it over the side so it drips all the way around the cake. Then we're going to take our candied lemon segments, add those to the top of the cake, and then just finish it with a sprinkle of poppy seeds. Finished cake is this delicious, super tender, really beautiful cake. It's super lemony, really beautiful and tender and really nice and moist, and it will keep for at least 4 days. As always, the recipe is up in the corner or down in the description box below. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe because I make new baking videos every single week. And if there's something you want me to make in an upcoming video, leave me a comment down below. Until next week, I'll see you later.